good afternoon. We welcome you to this celebration of the life of Gary William Tobin and all of the sounds of nature and our neighborhood this afternoon. Thank you so much for gathering together to remember and honor Gary this day. Today we will also remember and commit the ashes of Gary and Celia's son, John Charles Tobin. Both will be interred into this sacred place and into the keeping of eternity. I am the Reverend Mary Geer, minister for the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am joined in this service today by Troy Fisher, OUUC's music director, and the OUUC choir, which Gary was a part of for several years. The service today is different and yet the same. It is the same because it is a tradition as old as humanity to gather to grieve when a person dies. And it is different because we are streaming the service today, and some of us are in different physical locations. We are grateful that you have arrived here in whatever way you have arrived. It is the practice of this congregation to light a chalice. For those online, if you have a chalice or a candle that you would like to light, please join me as we light them together with these words, adapted from Patricia Sheldon. In this time of holy stillness, we gather to honor the lives of people we love. In this time of holy stillness, we remind ourselves that the flames of life and love are never fully extinguished. In this time of holy stillness, we offer ourselves for sharing the weight of each other's grief. In this time of holy stillness, we offer the strength of our love to help others survive their pain and grief. In this time of holy stillness, we call forth from each of us the power we offer out of life, out of loss, out of love. Thank you for taking the time to be here today and for offering the gift of your presence. It is a gift of kindness and compassion, and it means more than you might realize. We gather here today to grieve the loss of Gary Tobin. Gary was a husband, a father, a grandfather, a brother, an uncle. He was a singer, a counselor, a lover of beauty and of life. Gary touched many lives throughout his own life. Today, may we be grateful for the love that he left, knowing that the price of love is loss. Gary suffered with a degenerative illness for the last years of his life. It was a hard illness for him and for his family and friends. Today, may we remember Gary in his wholeness, in the complexity of his living, as we acknowledge the reality of his dying. Today, while we grieve that Gary has died, we also honor that he lived. And we also remember and dedicate the ashes of John Tobin, beloved son, brother, nephew, friend. John faced challenges and his life ended too soon. May his spirit rest in peace, and may his family find peace this day. We grieve Gary and John's passing in a time of so much grief, as a people and as a nation. This family has suffered many losses these past few years. May we acknowledge today all of the losses, and especially hold this family in love on this day. May we be united in the conviction that the flames of life and love are never extinguished, but they live on through us.
When life was slow and oh so mellow, try to remember the kind of September when grass was green and grain was yellow. Try to remember the kind of September when you were tender and callow fellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. Follow, 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 follow.
Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows will all pass away ere I forget all the joy that is mine today.
Well, I'll be a dandy and I'll be a rover. You'll know who I am by the song that I sing. I'll feast at your table, I'll sleep in your clover. Who cares what tomorrow shall bring? Try to remember the kind of September when no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life was so tender that dreams were kept beside the pillow. Try to remember the kind of September when love was an ember about to billow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow.
Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries,
the
I'll
snow
drink your sweet wine.
follow.
A
Deep
million
in
tomorrows
December, it's
will all
nice
pass
to
away
remember without a heart.
all the
The
joy
heart
that is
hollow.
mine. I can't be contented with yesterday's glories. I can't live on promises, winter to spring. Today is my moment, and now is my story.
And follow.
I'll sing and I'll laugh
Gary William Tobin was born in Ballard, Washington on May 6, 1942, the second of three sons in a Catholic family in a close-knit Catholic community. He attended Catholic school as a child and a teenager, graduating with a scholarship to St. Martin's here in Olympia, which was an all-men's college at the time. Gary's voice scholarship to St. Martin's required that he sing in the Glee Club and travel on recruiting trips for the choir and for the college. It was at St. Martin's that Gary met his first wife, Margaret. She was a nursing student at St. Joseph who attended a dance at St. Martin's, and Gary was the drummer in the band. They married in September of 1965 and had two children together, David and Jennifer. Gary and Margaret separated and then divorced in 1972. Gary graduated from St. Martin's and went directly to the University of Washington at Seattle for his Master of Social Work. Celia says that Gary decided to be a social worker when he got in a bit of trouble as a teenager when he and a friend took a neighbor's car for a joyride. Before that, Gary thought he might be a priest. But the social worker at the detention center was so kind and compassionate that Gary decided to study and practice social work instead. Gary and Celia met at the Western State Hospital where he worked, and Celia was an undergraduate working as an orderly as she considered pursuing a master's in social work. While dating, Gary was recruited to a community choir. He brought Celia along for the ride, and they enjoyed singing the drinking song from La Traviata and Benjamin Britten's hymn to Saint Cecilia. Celia introduced Gary to canoeing and backpacking. They married in 1975 and had two children together, John and Elisa. Gary served as a social worker in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War, counseling returning vets and their families in Augusta, Georgia. He went on to practice at the Western State Hospital, then the community mental health system. He worked for many years as a counselor for group health, then part-time for the family services in Seattle, before he finally retired for good. Celia describes Gary as a professional therapist, dedicated to service. He made a difference in people's lives. Even though he trained for administration and management, he stayed in direct service because he wanted to interact with people. His family remembers crisis calls on Christmas Eve and Gary's dedication to his clients. Gary was preceded in death by his son John, who died last October and who we will remember today. He leaves behind three children, David, Jennifer, and Elisa, and four grandchildren, Rose, Vi, Chad, and Mila. His love lives on, as does his love of music. Music was always a part of Gary's life. His mother was a musician who encouraged Gary to sing in their church and to perform in operas and musicals throughout his schooling. Throughout his life, Gary sang and played drums in dance bands, sang in many choruses, some with his wife Celia, and performed in community musicals. And at the end of Gary's life, Troy led several of us in singing to Gary to ease his transition. Gary was a longtime friend of OUUC, who also celebrated his Catholic roots. He and Celia married in the Tumwater Church building of the Unitarian Fellowship of Olympia, and they raised their children in this community as well as in the Catholic community. Gary led services on psychotherapy in the old fellowship. And in recent years, he brought his deep baritone voice to the choir and his charming presence to our community. Gary died peacefully at home on May 11th after struggling with several health conditions for the past few years. He was cared for by his wife Celia and supported by hospice. Gary celebrated his 80th birthday just a few days before he died. Gary lived a life of service, and he will be remembered fondly for his many gifts, musical and otherwise. May we be grateful for his life and his presence as we miss him. May his spirit be at peace. David?
One of the fond memories I have of my father is sitting next to him at St. Mike's, singing, as part of the congregation, singing the hymns. Dad would almost never sing the melody. He would always be making up the most amazing harmonies, and he invented them right on the spot. It was just an amazing thing. That was what gave a lot of my being a musician a lot more depth, basically, understanding these harmonies. They were so perfectly in the style of the hymn, but at the same time, they were completely Dad's own unique notes. Dad taught me that the true art behind performing music is not about being a technician, although Dad did have amazing chops, but it was rather finding one's own unique expression and sharing it with others. Whether Dad was singing Bach or playing the Doobie Brothers on the drums, or singing or playing one of his favorite jazz tunes like Misty, Dad made them his own. His interpretation came from his heart and spoke of the beauty in life that Dad saw and felt. But most important to Dad was how he communicated it, how he connected to people through music. Music is all about what we feel, and my father's immense feelings about what he sang or played inspired us all to connect and feel that beauty. These amazing qualities of my dad were not just on a musical level. They were really present in every aspect of his life. I know that he found his own voice and his own path in his pioneering work in mental health treatment and social working. When I was younger, Dad and I used to have a lot of talks in the kitchen. I was always firing questions at him about what was his work all about. He got me at a young age thinking about things like, what is consciousness? What is the nature of the psyche? But what made the biggest impression on me was how he described the treatment itself, and how important all of his clients or patients were to him. He recognized that each of them also had their own voice and their own makeup, and that the road to recovery was different for each and every client. He based his treatment on each individual, depended on each individual. It was a journey and a process that he and his client went through together. I was just always amazed at the stories that he would share with me of people getting better. I personally think that Dad was so in touch with his own feelings that he was able to really understand the emotions of others. And even with all his professional knowledge and all his life experience, Dad always maintained this amazing, playful, joking, youthful attitude. He had this intense love of life, and even after years of being on the planet, I feel that Dad woke up every day as if it was just the first day that he had got here. Just this is awe of life, just awe of life and appreciation of being alive. Life for him was this amazing journey and exploration. He always looked for the novel, the beautiful. He searched out the mysterious and the sublime. I think what was most important is that what he discovered and learned outside of himself and inside, he shared it in a life of service to humanity. Among so many other beautiful things, Dad brought the beauty of his music to people's ears and their hearts, and he got so many people, helped so many people get better through his social working. Riding with Dad in his Fiat convertible, watching his rock band rehearse at our house, or just Saturday mornings listening to his amazing records, which changed my life as far as my musical ear. It was moments like that as a child and many others where I just thought, my dad is so cool, he's so hip, and I still think that way. I'm so thankful for having him as my father. I wouldn't be the same person that I am, nor a musician, nor a teacher. A lot of my violin students now, I've passed on to them, inspired them to search out those harmonies, just as Dad did. And now many of them like to find their own lines when they're playing that fit in with a melody. And that's Dad coming through. I know his harmonies will always be in my sounding, in my ear, and the song will always be in my heart.
Thanks everybody for being here today. There's so much to love about Dad, and there's so many special memories that he made happen, he and Mom. I love how Dad took us on road trips. Some of our early adventures centered around Mount Rainier. Just a fun fact, a shout out for Mom. Mom summited that mountain. It was one of the first things I learned about Celia Witcher when I met her, and I was impressed. Little kids a lot of times take things for granted that adults do, but as a little kid, I knew that was a big deal. Every now and then I brag about that. Dad took us to the whole rainforest, the Washington coast, Vancouver, BC, several times, Crater Lake, the Redwood Forest, and one of our most frequent road trips was heading down the Oregon coast, stopping at our favorite spots along the way. I remember Dad running into the ocean with his hands raised triumphantly and calling out to the waves, "Come to me." That's Dad's style. Then I realized that our car rides together for my weekend visits to Olympia were some of my favorite road trips with Dad. We'd visit and listen to tons of music. Gordon Lightfoot, ABBA, Christopher Cross, and Cyndi Lauper, to name a few. I loved how Dad enjoyed the classics, but also liked to hear the new stuff. I loved when Dad and Mom took us to musicals here in Olympia. I think the early ones we'd go see at Capitol High School a long time ago. Those are some of my best childhood memories. Disneyland is cool, but it doesn't compare to the magic I felt attending those productions right here in Olympia. Aunt Linda joined us sometimes, and once she smuggled in some gummy bears. Dad loved being a grandpa. I got him a shirt that read "Grandpa Rocks," with a stitching of a rocking chair underneath. And he wore it proudly, of course. He and Mom attended our kids' school performances and they took our kids and me to performances. Once, when Dad and Mom visited us in Hawaii, they planned a fabulous night out in Honolulu to see Beauty and the Beast. We were also treated to a performance of Little Women here in Olympia featuring Auntie Elisa. The kids were in awe of their auntie. I love the way Dad took our kids seriously from the time they were tiny. If they were 5 and they wanted to play Monopoly with Grandpa, Dad didn't say, "Let's play Candyland." He set up and played what appeared to be a legit game of Monopoly with them. I don't know how he managed it, because that was my chance to take a break. I love how Dad shared his voice. He shared his voice in song, in church settings, and in the community. One year at Christmas time, he sang Ave Maria at Gloria Dei Lutheran. Another Christmas, he performed in a community theater production of Amal and the Night Visitors. Dad shared his voice with his corny jokes, awesome puns, and hearty laugh. He used his voice to advocate for people. Dad loved his life's work in mental health. He was frustrated when the system began pressuring therapists to wrap up patient treatment within a given number of visits, and he pushed back. One thing Dad valued for his patients was self-understanding, and with that hopefully came a certain degree of self-acceptance, which could be a part of the healing process. He didn't agree that someone had the right to put a time frame on that journey. He also advocated for his coworkers when he served as the union rep at his office. And sometimes Dad mixed music with work, and he sang to his patients. One refrain he mentioned singing was this Rolling Stones verse: "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need." Let's take that thought as a gift from Dad today. Thanks.
On his best day, my father was as gentle as Mr. Rogers, and to me, he had a voice that was as beautiful as Nat King Cole. As the youngest of 4, he didn't always get my name right the first time, but I can't say I didn't enjoy being the baby. I can still remember feigning sleep in the back of our old Chevy Citation just so that Dad would carry me up to bed. I never felt safer than when I was in his arms. One of the things I admire most about my dad is the fact that he never spoke ill of any human being. When I would come to him with my grievance, a squabble with a girlfriend at school, or even a personality conflict with someone in the family, he always offered a theory as to why people behave the way that they do. Now, let's be clear. Whether or not I could get on board with his psychoanalytical explanations is a whole nother story. Dad was really confident in who he was, what was important to him, and it didn't seem that he had the drive to impress others. He often helped me remember that I need not take myself so seriously. I recall him encouraging me to try to get a B next semester when I came to him in the depths of despair at my A- in typing that ruined my 4.0 GPA. Dad always got to play good cop in our family, which worked out quite well for him, not so much for my mom. However, he did have 3 rules that I distinctly remember. Don't ride your bicycle in flip-flops, don't walk while eating carrots, and don't slide down the banister. And Dad, if you haven't already figured it out, that is exactly how I broke my arm in 4th grade. So I'm sure most of you know that my dad liked to sing, and in addition to what I consider to be the most beautiful singing voice, he also had a beautiful voice to read bedtime stories to me. 2 of my favorites are Gwenna and Where the Wild Geese Go. His musical ability really never struck me as unusual. I guess I just assumed it was normal for every dad to be the first boy Amal in the Seattle Community Opera Theater, to star as Curly as a senior in high school, and to sing with a semi-professional chorus in Tacoma. Some of my fondest memories include looking out of our front windows with Dad, smelling the fresh coffee that I probably wasn't drinking yet, while listening to Dad's radio, Classical King FM. He would often pick an instrument to double and just join right in. I knew that he loved all 4 of us kids, and I knew he loved Mom, and he showed it in little ways every day. One of my favorite ways that he showed it was on Valentine's Day. I'd come down from my bedroom and find at my place a little Valentine's Day themed snow globe. As I got older, that graduated to Lancome Juicy Tubes lip gloss, and finally, as a senior in high school, I believe it was a tube of Clinique lipstick. He is someone who I could talk to for over an hour on the phone, who stealthily slipped a framed photo of Cannon Beach into my luggage before I took off for a year in Japan. And he's the person that remained at the table with me. We were the ones that were still eating when everyone else was done with dinner. He offered to drive me on rainy mornings so I didn't have to get wet running my paper route. And he was going to sing at my wedding. Now, I don't recall asking him to sing at my wedding, but as it turns out, I am so thankful. It was such a gift to dance with him and quietly sing into each other's eyes the Nat King Cole, Natalie Cole version of Unforgettable. Isn't it funny how the things that embarrass you most about your parents are the things that you find you really, really miss? As a child, I remember my cheeks burning red when he took it upon himself to riff unannounced and sing out his own counter melodies at Old Spirituals during a church service. But today, I would give anything to have him here with us to do that. So I hope we can remember his voice when we sing together today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dick Hooper. Gary Tobin and I were friends for almost 62 years. We met in November 1960 at St. Martin's College. We were both on music scholarships in the male chorus. I was very quickly drawn to this always smiling and effervescent man. Tobe had a way about him that was consistently welcome and open. There are times in our life when you know you're headed for a real train wreck. At those times, if you're lucky, there's a significant other who was there at the right time to put themselves on the line to get you out of trouble. That was Gary. He took me in as his roommate when I literally had no place to go. His mother baked me cookies. He went to bat for me with the leadership of the college when I was on the verge of getting kicked out. He supported me in every way possible for the 4 years we were together at St. Martin's. We sang in the chorus, and we sang in the same quartet for 4 years. Was started out as the Dick Hooper Quartet, then became the Spotlighters, and evolved into something else. Gary, by the way, was also a great drummer, as you all know, and played in a number of jazz groups at the same time. We told each other all our problems, and we helped each other solve them. Very few people make a huge difference in your life for the better. Gary was that friend for me. As we got older and our lives took different paths, we didn't see each other as often as we would have liked, but the affection and warmth was always there every time we did touch. It was like we'd never spent time apart. Despite getting serious diabetes at a very early age, Gary led a very active, full life as a professional social worker, a husband, father, grandfather, a musician, and an example of calm and kindness to everyone he met. Gary was a thoughtful and faithful friend. He had the respect of his peers and the affection of everyone who met him. I will miss him always, as will all others to whom his life and ideas mattered. He was the kindest and gentlest of men, with a soft voice, an ever-present huge smile, and a low key of saying the smartest thing in the room. He always tried the best he could. He accepted the hits from life without complaint and moved on. He demonstrated that it was possible to be a gentle soul in a rough and tumble world, and that's not an easy thing to do. Although he's not physically here, at a deeper level, Gary continues to be an encouraging and supportive friend in my life, and I'm sure many others. He will never be forgotten.
Give it way, it please the Lord, but you alone
There are many stories and memories of Gary with us today. We make some time to hear a few more of them now. For those online, I invite anyone who wishes to share a quality or brief memory about Gary that you will always remember. You can write it in the chat, and we'll post it on the OUUC website so that everyone can share it. And for those here in person, if you have a story that must be told today, I will invite you to come forward to tell it. And remember, there's time for sharing after the service today. So we'll begin by inviting up any members of Gary's family who have a memory that they might like to share.
This is brief, but Gary really loved cats, and when I was little, he had two, Coal Miner and Captain. And Captain was a very shy cat, but I wanted to pet him, so Grandpa Gary held Captain for me so I could pet him, and it was very nice.
Sweet.
The thing about my Uncle Gary that I'm going to miss the most is hearing his laugh. No family outing or event was complete without it, and he always told the best dad jokes, like hands down. So he'll really be missed, and I just hope everybody remembers his laugh, because it brought joy to people, and it just was so memorable.
I'm Linda.
I'm Greg.
We were asked by Celia and Gary to be godparents for their son, John, whom we're remembering today. And it was really special. I didn't quite qualify because in the Catholic Church, I was Unitarian and not quite with it. But this guy was raised and everything Catholic that we needed. And so I remember on that fateful day when we became John's godparents, we sat there and we proudly renounced the devil in our godson. It's quite a joy to have been part of his life. And it was great that Celia and Gary invited us into that special circle of family of godparents.
And another memory that I have of Gary was one time we decided, Celia and I and Linda and Gary, to go up to Mount Rainier and do a little cross-country skiing. Well, Linda and I...
Celia was pregnant with said son, John.
So Linda and I had been cross-country skiing for quite a while, and Gary was kind of new to it. And he was absolutely amazing in just his fearlessness. I guess it was a lack of knowledge, but we went down from Paradise down the road, and there were a couple of kind of dicey stream crossings that we had to do on bridges, and how he made it across, I don't know. And I remember that there was one shot of him, and he's like in a cartoon, you know, he's trying to go forward, but he's going backwards like this, and he's getting closer and closer, and I'm just looking and I'm shaking my head, and I said, I don't know what's going to happen here, but it doesn't look good. And he had the grace to hook his skis around the bridge, and we were able to get him extricated from there. So we come back to Tacoma, where we were living, and we went to the spaghetti factory, and And it's just like his kid said. He was a joke a minute, and we're there, and this guy is our waiter, and he's coming around, and everything is, well, here you go, my good fellow. And so for years and years and years, whenever Gary and I were around each other and something was kind of serious or something, we would say, well, how's it going, my good fellow? So he was a great guy and a lot of fun. So I'm glad. I think that the singing of Alleluia here today was just like, it's perfect. It is perfect. And, you know, Gary's beaming about this. It was really terrific. So thank you very much for everybody for all what you've done.
This will also be brief, but a little bit of a callback to Jennifer's story. He totally kicked my butt in that Monopoly game. He got me good. I've out character from that. Thank you.
Thank you. And now if there are any members of our larger community who have a story they would like to share, I invite you up now.
Mine's really short. I have a very dear friend that I have coffee with every Wednesday, and I happened to mention the memorial, or I don't remember how it came up, but she said, "Oh, Gary Tobin, he saved my life. He was your counselor," and she was so grateful.
How you guys doing? This will be brief also. And this is very recent memory of the last time I saw Gary. He was in the state that he was at that point, which is close to obviously the end. I had a connection with him, and he said, "Hello, Aaron. How are you?" I got that solid look in his eyes, and it was just, I felt like it was a solid gift, and I really loved it. And that's what I got.
Thank you so much for your remembrances.
What seems appropriate that we would sing together? We're going to sing Love Will Guide Us. The words are found in your program. If you want to join along, and I invite you to rise in body and or spirit. And let's sing together.
Beside us.
Please be seated. Please be seated. As we hold our memories and the music of Gary in our hearts, we commit his ashes to this place of beauty, accompanied by the music of nature. Family members are invited to come forward to place some of Gary's ashes in the columbarium.
Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sick soul. And now, if there are any members of the community who would like to come forward to place some ashes in the columbarium, I invite you to do that now.
Oh, there is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Celia requested a prayer from Maureen Killerin titled A Celtic Lorica. The practice of lorica comes from the Celtic monastic tradition and is a prayer for protection. Let's say the prayer together. You'll find the words printed in the order of service and posted in the chat for those online. Spirit of all blessing, be with us in the ordinariness of our days. May hope's light guard us and keep cynicism from our hearts. May the energy of laughter build endurance for the dark times of our lives. May creativity's vision grant the possibility of seeing old relationships with new eyes. May the oil of healing keep us from anger's hardness or despair. May the mantle of humility give courage to admit when we are wrong. May compassion's loom weave in us the discipline to forgive. May patience help us bear in mind that ours is not the only scale of time. May the flame of justice be a beacon for the choices we must make. May peace be ever in us and sustain our stressful days. Spirit of all blessing, be with us in the ordinariness of our days. Amen. This family has suffered several losses in recent years. Gary and Celia's son John died last October 11th, 2021. His sister Elisa wrote this remembrance of John. These are Elisa's words. My brother, John Charles, was born on his due date, June 6th, in 1978. He was the first Witcher grandchild, but we both inherited two older siblings, David and Jennifer, from Dad's first marriage. In 1981, I came along so that John would have someone to pester him and watch him play Nintendo. It doesn't surprise me that his preschool teachers were amazed at his ability to sing in harmony and hold his own on a round, because he always stopped me to let me know whenever I began singing a song in anything other than the original key. Elisa says his love of music never left him. He followed in his big brother's footsteps by taking Suzuki violin. He studied trumpet in school, and later he took electric guitar lessons. Traditional school settings, assignments, and teaching styles were a challenge for John, as was relating to his peers in large groups. I will always be grateful for two teachers in particular who saw my brother's brilliance and helped grow his confidence when they cast him as the Wicked Witch in a German language production of Hansel and Gretel, and Horace Van de Gelder in Hello, Dolly. John found peace existing with nature and did not take living in the Pacific Northwest for granted. In later years, he cherished his hiking and boating expeditions with Aunt Linda and Cousin Eric. Thanks to his persistence and his great luck being born to our parents, two social workers, after transferring schools several times, John graduated from Olympia High School. I bet we all wish we had taken computer programming classes and culinary arts at that age. I miss his confidence in the kitchen and quickly whipped up salads. John found it a challenge to find his place as an adult. The people that took the time to really know him will remember his fierce loyalty, his bright "hello, hello" greeting, which he inherited from Grandpa Ladd, his warm hugs, and his readiness to say, "I love you." He lived to help others, notably Grandma Jeanette and our dad when his health declined. He loved his cats, Jack and Jones, and all creatures that came across his path. One summer we rescued a baby crow with a broken wing. John really bonded with the bird and named him Twilight. He found ways to give and share what resources he had with family and even strangers. Sometimes his gifts would be a lovingly cultivated catnip or basil plant. Other times he would share an original sketch. One year, when he came into some money, he asked me to go in with him 50-50 on a new couch for our folks. We would all like to believe that given the chance, we would be the hero. John became one when he rushed into a neighbor's burning apartment and roused a teenager that wasn't even aware that his grandmother's home was on fire. That happened just 3 months before John died. At the end of his life, he voiced appreciation for family that had already passed: Grandpa Ladd, Grandma Jeanette, Uncle Mark, and he expressed his firm belief that he would see them again. He also saw hope in the future through the new generation and looked forward to sharing his Greek mythology book with my daughter Mila. I could not be prouder of my brother, who never gave up on life. His smile, which lit up his whole being, will always be with me. John's smile helps me to remember that there is always hope in this world. Thank you, Elisa. We hold in love these sweet memories of John as we commit his ashes to this sacred place and to all eternity. Family members are invited to come forward to place some of John's ashes in the columbarium. If there are any community members, friends of John's and the family who would like to come forward to inter ashes, I invite you to do that now. John was a lover of nature. Please join me in the spirit of prayer with these words adapted from Lynn Cox. Spirit of life, ancestor of the stars and the sun, you who embrace the vastness of space and us along with it, be with us today. Hold us in our worry, our exhaustion, our grief. Lead us to rest in the quiet, to find solace and renewal in this time of shifting light and dark. You whose arms open with the spinning galaxies, help us to make room as you do for all that is. Open our hearts to our loved ones, our neighbors, the beings with whom we share this planet. Lead us to reach out to others in compassion. Turn us toward one another in mercy, right relationship, and reconciliation. You who have seen the rising and setting of suns, of seasons, of civilizations, help us understand our interdependence, our gravitational relatedness with all of the other spinning lives around us, and lead us to treat those relationships with care. In this space, filled with the people among us who shine like stars, this space filled with the sparkle of love and care, we give thanks for this moment to be together. May our senses be open to the beauty of this day, of this season, of this world. Blessed be. Amen. Our grief is a holy thing. It is the proof that another life touched ours in a profound way. It is the mark of love, the mark of connection, and the mark of a life well lived. We have honored Gary and John today by placing their ashes in this container where they will mingle with the memories and ashes of others, including those of Grandma Jeanette. They are held here in the beauty of nature as they return to the earth. And so we commit these ashes to this sacred place. From the earth we come, and to the earth we shall return. Let us hear the words of the Reverend Mark Bellatini. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, memory to memory, story to story, blessing to blessing, strength to strength, gratitude to gratitude, spirit to spirit, love to love. In this place consecrated by our memories, may Gary and John rest in peace. May their spirits rest in eternal love, which has no beginning and no ending. Please join me as we extinguish our chalices with these words from Kenneth Collier titled, What I Know. I do not know where we go when we die, and I do not know what the soul is, or what death is, or when, or why. What I know is that the song once sung cannot be unsung, and the life once lived cannot be unlived, and the love once loved cannot be unloved. We give thanks for the generous and music-filled life of Gary Tobin. We give thanks for the life and love of John Tobin. May their spirits know peace, and may a healing come to the hearts of those who mourn their passing. May we all feel the love that holds us in the cycle of life and never lets us go. And may peace be with us on this day.
We always end our time together as the choir here at OUUC by singing a benediction entitled May a Song. I believe the words are in the order of service, and you're invited to join us if you'd like. Choir, I'm going to invite you to stand. Good night, sweet singing prince. Sweet singing princes. It's been a pleasure to be here together. Here we go, take a breath and... May a song of peace
today, thank you so much for your presence. And for those here in person, please feel free to stay and share some refreshments and your memories of Gary and John. Thank you all.